Well, we continue with this morning's edition of News and Views on this beautiful day of Jummah, and we're going across now to be joined by attorney Nadeem Mahomed from the Center for Islamic Research, CIRA Africa. We're talking about a program, and this is the launch of the inaugural program, Unveiling Mapping Muslims in Africa. Attorney Nadeem Mahomed, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome. Jummah Mubarak to you and Jazakallah for your time.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Uncle Inayat, Jummah Mubarak to you too. It's nice to see you again.
Yes, great seeing you as always. And clearly, when I saw this invitation to this inaugural program, it really caught my attention because, talking about mapping Muslims in Africa, and we know the African continent has got a very, very rich history as far as Islam is concerned. A large percentage of the African population consists of Muslims as well. And, it's just got such a rich and diverse history as far as Islam is concerned. In fact, Islam came onto the African continent before it even went to Medina with the first hijrah. So I'm sure, looking at this program and looking at the Muslims and mapping Muslims in Africa, let's just get some brief background and put some context into what this event and what this program is all about, Nadeem.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. So, very quickly, just as a by way of background, so you understand who and what CIRA is. CIRA, because it starts with the C, Center for Islamic Research Africa, ultimately is an NPO which has three directors: myself, an attorney, an advocate by the name of Ziad Umar, and an advocate who we know very, very well, an activist and an expert researcher, Shabnam Mayat. Obviously, you know her from the Rohingya and from many, many other causes and projects and campaigns that she works actively on. Then we have, of course, Zakira Vadi, who is the daughter of Ismail Vadi, who, as you very well know, is and was rather a representative of the ANC for 25 years from 1994. And really, he is the tank of the think tank that we are creating and trying to create. And then there's some very influential and highly intelligent thinkers who we have on the Shura board, all this led by Ismail Vadi as our Amir. And really the aim of this, which we'll hear in more detail just now, is research in Africa and the plight of Muslims, the circumstances of Muslims, what they're facing, where they're facing this, from who they're facing this, and really to create and at some stage form a method of thinking and a different narrative for the paradigm when it comes to Muslims in Africa. So the launch, which you rightfully pointed out, will happen on the 27th of March. 28th of March. 28th of March, the Saturday. And it will commence from 2 o'clock. There's been an amazing response insofar as the potential attendees for this launch. And really, what we're trying to do here is when we launch this on Saturday, is to explain very much like we're explaining now what it is that we aim to do, how we aim to do it. A lot of the information, in fact, 90% of the information, maybe even more, 95% of the information will be obtained from open source media and articles. And from there, we will draw comparisons between what's actually happening on the ground and what you're hearing from Western and other media, and then show you a clearer picture with the drafting of reports and show the world really what is actually happening with Muslims in Africa.
Well, certainly. And also, I think, Nadeem, what is very interesting to note is we see evidence of this in South Africa, where we see that face of that Muslim Ummah or that African Muslim Ummah already in South Africa since democracy as well. And we've got Muslims from right across the African continent that are in South Africa at this point in time. So we've got some sort of an insight as to, what we are talking about when we talk about mapping Muslims in Africa.
Yes. So Uncle Nayat, South African Muslims estimate about 2 million Muslims in South Africa. It's around about 2% of the total population. Contrast that with about 1.5 billion people in Africa, 49% of whom are Muslim. So effectively, South African Muslims make up around about 0.4% of the total Muslim population in Africa. 0.4, 0.4% of the Muslims in Africa, who number almost 750 to almost just under 800 million Muslims on the African continent. So it is, in fact, an inherent requirement, in my opinion, of being a South African Muslim to know extensively enough and more about what is going on with the Muslims in the rest of, in our neighbors, effectively in the rest of Africa. So when we talk about mapping of Muslims, you look at the influences. Just as an example, social media influences. Some of the top reaching followers on the internet, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, who garner millions of followers in support, are actually Muslim. Not just on the African continent, but in the world. Most of those come from Africa and are African Muslims. So, really, what we're trying to say here is that you cannot ignore it anymore. And I heard you talking just a little bit earlier to your previous guest, and you're referring to BRICS. You know, in my opinion, what is BRICS really without really including every single country in the African continent who has a wealth of resource and a wealth of minerals and natural resources, and really, how many of those countries have Muslim rulers and governments, and how many of those countries are infighting internally religiously, and these are the things that we've got to try and map and understand more clearly, and really that's mainly one of the main aims of CIRA.
Yes, but also I think one can look at when we talk about mapping Muslims in Africa or at various level. One can look at it at an economic level, at a social level, a socio-economic level, at a religious level, at a political level as well. And as you mentioned, close on to 800 million Muslims, and also in terms of what is taking place on the African continent, some of the worst atrocities have taken place on the African continent. And have we truly come to terms and appreciate what is taking place? Sudan, the genocide that comes to mind. There is just so much that one actually can unpack and understand when we talk about mapping Muslims in Africa. And I know the keynote speaker is going to be Ibrahim Tembisa Fakudi as well, who is very, very well versed with the topic on both, the global political dynamics, but also the political dynamics of the African continent, Nadeem.
Yes, absolutely. And I myself am really excited to hear his talk. I'll obviously be talking and just giving an introduction of what CIRA is, very much what I'm doing now, but a little bit more detailed. I know we don't have too much time on the show. There is so much to say, Uncle Inayat, insofar as Africans. I mean, if you just look at West Africa and the Sahel, East Africa and the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Malawi, Central Southern Africa, Central African Republic, Cabo Delgado, Mozambique, the infiltration of so-called extremist groups, ISIS, Al Qaeda, Al Shabaab. There is so much to talk about, but there's so much to understand. More than just talk about it, there's so much to understand. And inshallah, Dr. Fakudi will assist us greatly in giving us a beautiful summary and hopefully detailed summary of exactly what to look out for and what it is that we should be monitoring more deeply.
Yes, and Nadeem, let's just talk about the event in itself. We know you said Saturday. It's taking place on the 28th as well. At this point in time, I'm not too sure. I know it has been essential for people to RSVP. I'm not too sure what the numbers are looking like. Is there still opportunity for people to attend?
I think there very much is. I'm quickly just scrolling onto my phone. I want to just check for you. There's a link, which one can utilize to RSVP. I don't know if you've received that link yet or
Yes,
before.
I have. I have actually.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. So that link effectively is the link that would be utilized. The I don't know where we are exactly in terms of numbers. We'll check to the company secretary about this and just check with her. That's Zakira Vadi. She's been phenomenal. She set up this entire thing almost single-handedly, just with, input from us, high level. But she's really amazing. That's a daughter of Ismail Vadi. So the apple didn't fall far from the tree, mashallah. But I can show. I'll get the information, and I think perhaps what we'll do, Uncle Inayat, is give get Zakir to just drop you a mail to confirm what the numbers are looking like and whether or not there is still space. I know that we didn't anticipate it to be too big, but there are a number of media houses, yourselves included, who will be attending, as well as Hilal TV will be broadcasting the event live. There'll be an interview with Hilal TV. There will be some other radio stations and TV stations also that will be there. And there will be quite a bit of social media attention there. So, look, I don't think that anybody will be left outside, let me put it that way, if in fact they do attend, inshallah.
Yes, obviously, this year is just the beginning because it's the launch of the publication as well, and I'm sure
Correct.
going forward, one can expect a lot more in terms of engagements as far as this topic is concerned, so that the ummah gets even a greater and a deeper understanding of what is actually playing out in the African continent, particularly as far as Muslims are concerned.
Absolutely, and really a deep dive, to use AI terms, a deep dive into this process. And in fact, inshallah, very soon, once we get going to attend these countries, the ones that we are going to look very deeply into, and report much more wider and much more. In much more detail as to what the circumstances are in those countries and how really South Africans can assist, even if it's an applying of the mind to the situation. I mean, we're talking about Uncle Knight, you mentioned earlier that Islam started, for example, in Africa, and if you look at the time period being over 1400 years ago, with Najashi, which is known in Arabic, Negus, which is known in Arabic as Najashi, the conversation between the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Jafar ibn Abu Talib. And I mean, this happened, as you say, 1400 years ago. And this is really where Islam started in Africa. And because it is so prominent there, even now till today, as I say, to ignore it as Southern Africans really would be sacrilegious.
Yes, well, Nadeem, looking forward to obviously meeting up, inshallah, on Sunday. And once again, I just want to repeat that it is taking place at the Newcomers building at the West Campus at Wits University in Johannesburg, the Saturday, the 28th of March, as you mentioned. The link will be set up, and hopefully, we will get a full house as well. But I think more importantly, in terms of the value out of this event, and as always, Jazakallah, we thank you. We do appreciate you taking time out for us here at Salam Media. All the best to you, inshallah, and all the best for the event as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Barakallahu feek wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you soon, inshallah.
Center for Islamic Research's attorney Nadeem Mahomed with us this morning. And with that, we're going to go for a break. And after the break, an important interview that is taking place. It's a discussion, a recorded interview that I had with Professor Sami Al Aryan out of Turkey. He is a Palestinian academic. And I must say, it's been quite an in depth interview, putting the entire attack in Iran into context as well, and also looking at some of the latest developments that have been taking place, and very, very powerful, very, very insightful in terms of his thoughts as far as this attack and the tensions in the Middle East region at this point in time. So I'm going to bid you farewell for now, but after this, immediately after this, the in-depth interview with Dr. Sami Al Aryan, from myself and the team. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.